Max Scherzer still has it, man. We'll break down his start, preview week 22, and much more up next on a Kokomo Friday.
Alcantara, Soroka, you look so good in Boca. Peralta, Manoa, bounce back for Aaron Giolito, Castillo, Yoshida, Mosu, Carlo, and Fado. Value so high, but ADP so low. Frank loves him some kind of Joe. Now let's get on with the show.
Happy Kokomo Friday and welcome in to Fantasy Baseball today on August 15th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Today on the show, we had a pitcher's duel out in Toronto. We'll preview week 22, and if we have time, I have Scotty doesn't know ready to go, but I don't know. There's a lot of stuff on the rundown. We'll see what happens.
Is there? 7 game day. There's a lot of stuff on the rundown. Is this so? Is this true? Because there's not a lot in my notes here. So,
you know what? I always just take more notes than I need to on days where there's not that many games going on. So I don't know, just trying to fill time. Also, what was with that intro, man? I gotta figure that out. My voice felt like it was all over the place. Anywho,
I didn't notice. Yeah? I'll listen out for it.
All right. Well, I'm sure when I edit it later, I'm gonna say, "Oh God, that was terrible." But, whatever. Let's jump in.
Oh my goodness! Unbelievable!
All right, Scott, there wasn't too much to choose from for players of the night, but you found yourself one anyway. Who is it?
Yeah, why are your notes so full? And okay, yeah, the player I chose is Brenton Doyle. I feel like we're going through a nature is healing phase here in the season. We've talked about it with Brian Reynolds. We've talked about it with Michael Harris. We need to talk about it with Brenton Doyle because Brenton Doyle was terrible, as I'm sure you're all aware. Terrible in the first half. He hit 202. His OPS was 5. Is this right? 5. It began with a 5. Hit 202 with a 576 OPS in the first half. Second half, going a lot better. 393 with 4 home runs, a 1029 OPS. Obviously, that's a much smaller sample. His contribution Thursday, he hit one of those 4 home runs, went 2 for 4 overall. Much smaller sample in the second half, but looking more like the Brenton Doyle we expected. And, looking at some of the under the hood stuff, it's kind of what you'd expect for a hitter who's performing better, right? Like, he's not hitting the ball harder necessarily, but he was hitting it hard enough all along. That wasn't the issue. The strikeout rate's a little down. The line drive rate is way up. The pull rate is up. Fly ball rate's actually down, but, getting line drives that's on average, that's going to yield the best outcomes for a hitter. So I don't know that we can really take anything away from that for Doyle. He's hitting well in the second half, and the data suggests he should be hitting well in the second half, I think is all you can really take from that. But for me, it was hard to make sense of why he had gone so wrong in the first place. Now, I had Brenton Doyle as a bust pick coming into the season. But his failures weren't in the way I thought. I thought that strikeout rate would get really bloated. I thought maybe his home away splits, he was a bit too reliant on having awesome numbers at home, and that would present an issue. He still has the awesome numbers at home, So I don't know. I guess I could say a lot more things that don't really draw us to a clear conclusion. I guess mainly what I want to say here with Brenton Doyle is that it's kind of what makes analyzing baseball players frustrating. This is a frustrating sport to analyze in the way we do it on this show, where we're going over the events of the day. We're assessing recent performance. We're trying to make sense of what it means. We're not able to look at it from this 30,000 foot view that I talk about. And if we were, we would probably say for Brian Reynolds, for Michael Harris, for Brenton Doyle, they're still good players. And if you give them enough time, they're going to show it. Preferably more time would be like a month, but it's been 4 months. And that is one of the things we often say, that give a player infinite time and he will revert to his true outcomes. It's just, you don't know how much time it's going to take. And for these 3 players, it's taken a really long time.
I also think with Brenton Doyle, did we know exactly the player he was, right? Because we only had 1 full season of him being this awesome player for fantasy. So obviously,
that's fair.
There was some of that with him. The other 2, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Something we don't talk about much is, the human element behind the scenes, like what's going on in a player's life. And back in April, Brenton Doyle suffered this tragic loss off the field. Unborn baby passed away for him and his wife. So obviously there's no way for us to quantify how much that affected him. I'm sure it did immensely, but I mean, that could be a pretty good reason why he slumped for as long as he did. And maybe now just starting to pick things up. So looking much better in the second half. He's 46% rostered, and there are a lot of outfielders that have emerged recently. I mean, obviously, like Jacob Marcy is, head and shoulders at the top right now if you're looking for an outfielder to add. But, in 5 outfielder leagues, 3 names that kind of stand out to me: Brenton Doyle, Isaac Collins, and Dalton Varsho. How would you rank those 3?
I think the way you listed them off, Brenton Doyle, Isaac Collins, Dalton Varsho, maybe Collins moves ahead of Doyle if it's a points league, because Doyle's plate discipline is never going to be good, and Collins is pretty good. But Doyle is the one of the 3 who's among my sleeper hitters for next week. I'm kind of amazed he's rostered in as little as 46% of leagues, because I don't think Reynolds or Harris ever dropped below 90% rostership, which gets back to the point you were making. They had a little more of a track record of greatness than Doyle did, but still 46% is very low. And
hey, when you have a first half OPS that starts with a 5, Scott,
I think Michael Harris did too, though, didn't he?
He might have actually.
Yeah,
probably around there. Yeah, fair point. Yeah, but I guess he is more proven. But right. Fair point there on Brenton Doyle. So he's been dropped in a lot of leagues. Could be out there in some 5 outfielder leagues. I think it totally makes sense to look back at Brenton Doyle. We'll talk about the Rockies' schedule later on, but they have 7 games next week, 4 of those in Coors Field. So looks like a good spot to get your Rockies bats back in the lineup. And like I do often here, my player of the night, it's actually 2 players of the night. It was a pitcher's duel in Toronto.
It's time to duel.
Yeah, Matthew Boyd up against Max Scherzer. I mentioned Scherzer up at the top. I mean, the old man still has it. Boyd here, 7 innings, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts for him. What's crazy is like they didn't get a ton of whiffs or anything. I don't know if it was just the early start in Toronto. Maybe the hitters were a little sluggish, whatever it might be. But Boyd's been pitching well all season. No doubt about that. He's gone 7+ innings in 5 of his last 8 outings. He's among the ERA leaders, 2.46 ERA, 1.02 WHIP for the season. But I want to focus a little bit more on Max Scherzer. 7+ in this one, 1 run allowed, only 3 strikeouts, had 9 whiffs on 78 pitches, which is still an okay ratio. They both were super efficient, under 80 pitches for both guys here, Matthew Boyd and Max Scherzer. But this is now 4 straight quality starts. And during that stretch, 2.42 ERA, a .88 WHIP, right around a strikeout per inning for Max Scherzer. So, look, we know he's not the pitcher of old, but we knew that there was talent in here. How much can his body hold up? Well, they're throwing him out there 6-7 innings consistently here for Scherzer. As long as he's healthy, I think get him in your lineup, Scott.
Yeah, for the most part, I agree with that. I think it will. How rostered is Max Scherzer at this point?
He is 78%, so still could be out there in some leagues.
And his upcoming matchup is against, it looks like, the Marlins. No, that's not right.
Slugging Marlins at the Pirates. So that's
at the Pirates
with no O'Neal Cruz. I mean, that's
even better.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I assumed he was rostered in more leagues than that. If he's 78%, that meets the threshold for sleeper pitchers against the Pirates. I got to get him in there.
Is this breaking news on the podcast, Scott?
Oh, it was so hard coming up with 10 pitchers. it was one of those weeks. So yeah, Scherzer will be a welcome addition to that. I do think he's closer to a matchups play than not still. But we were pointing out even coming into this season that a lot of the underlying indicators for Scherzer, those dominance indicators we lean on so much, like swinging strike rate, for instance, for me, they still showed a good pitcher there. It was just a matter of at 40, him giving us no confidence he could remain healthy, having a chronic thumb issue that he has admitted contributes to other health issues that he's had in recent years. But he manages to be gutting through it right now. And while you can't be confident that's going to last, he looks plenty usable in the meantime.
And Matthew Boyd on the other side here. As we get closer to the end of the season, we will start to work in, some analysis or just talking about, the off season and next season. We will still focus on this season. So, don't be worried. I know a lot of people are, chasing the playoffs and roto standings and all those types of things. But Matthew Boyd, I think, is going to be fascinating for next season because I think in previous years, this is someone, not previous years, like a decade ago, this is a pitcher that would have been elevated too much heading into drafts next year. But obviously the entire industry has smartened up and, my guess right now is that he will be valued appropriately. What does that look like? I don't know, like a, top 30, top 40 starting pitcher, something like that for Matthew Boyd. But we're now going on a 32 start stretch over the past 2 years with a sub-3 ERA and a sub-110 whip. So at some point, Matthew Boyd has just figured something out, and he's really good right now.
Yeah. So it's I've raised this point before between Matthew Boyd and Andrew Abbott, and trying to think of another example. There are other examples. They all fit this archetype of a pitcher that historically, certainly in recent history, hasn't worked in fantasy. The sort of control lefty that doesn't he doesn't have huge swing and miss stuff, right? It's sort of even below average swing and miss stuff. Just an okay strikeout rate, not a terrible one, but not really a selling point for the pitcher that he's able to get strikeouts. High fly ball rate. It's really just the good control. The good control is what carries him, and that wouldn't be enough in recent history, but it's been enough. We've seen a number of these pitchers who are really thriving in this particular environment for whatever reason. We know it's been an environment where the ball hasn't carried as well, and so fly balls can be beneficial in such an environment. But we also know that changes very quickly. And so I think I'm going to be reluctant to invest heavily in all of those types of pitchers next year. Again, Boyd and Andrew Abbott, and I know there's another clear example of that. I'm just not thinking of it right now.
Ranger Suarez probably fits that.
Well, he's a ground ball pitcher, so he's kind of a different archetype. I feel like he's a lefty, like you say, and good control and all that. But I think that's a little different.
Trevor Rogers. I don't know. I'm looking up and down the rankings to find somebody. Sean Manaea. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't think of it. Anyway, the point is, I think I'm going to
Lopez. There you go. He gets whiffs though.
He's a weird one. Yeah, he gets a lot of whiffs. We don't need to go through them all and me argue why they don't fit, but I know there are some others out there, and I just want to be really careful with it because I do think it's largely environment dependent. It's going to make people mad next year when I'm fading Matthew Boyd, and if it becomes something that's widespread, as often happens with us. I mean, a lot of people listen to us. We kind of become influential throughout the industry, and some of our ideas get mainstreamed, I guess. Not that we're not mainstream, but they become widespread, So if that becomes a thing and Boyd starts slipping in drafts because of it, well, I'll probably end up with some shares of Boyd. I'm not the sort of person, I'm sure everybody gets from my analysis, I'm not the sort of person who is so stuck on my pet my pet talking points that I can never draft against them. Like I know that my accuracy on sleeper breakouts and bust picks is not so high that I should be totally committed to them myself. And so, all of which is to say, going to try to avoid those guys. But if that becomes what everybody's doing, then maybe I end up drafting some.
All right. Just a reminder that you can listen to FBT and FBT Express on Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube, you can scan that QR code. That will bring you right to the FBT Spotify feed. And big thanks to those watching live. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Let's take a break, and we'll be back right after this.
You can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. So even if you can't count on accurate expiration dates,
that is a rookie mistake,
or people appreciating your fashion sense,
Jim, the crowd is not on board here.
you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS, streaming on Paramount Plus.
Glad we wear our good jerseys.
Yeah.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Not too much going on in terms of news, so we can run pretty quickly through this. But Michael King was placed back on the IL with left knee inflammation. Just a very frustrating season all around for Michael King, who had the pinched nerve in his shoulder. Now he has this knee thing going on, and he's in a contract year. So I don't know how much that will affect him. I think he's still a really talented pitcher, but obviously the season has raised some red flags in terms of the injuries. Aaron Nola will return from the IL to start Sunday against the Nationals. He's been out since mid-May with a sprained ankle and then a fractured rib. So I think if he looks all right in that start against the Nationals, you're probably wheels up to get Nola back in your lineups next week. Chris Sale, unless you disagree.
Nope.
All right. Chris Sale will make his second rehab start at AAA on Sunday. Pablo Lopez will throw 2 innings of live batting practice on Friday. He's been out since early June with a right shoulder strain. Jordan Lawler was activated from the IL at AAA. We'll see how many games he actually plays down there before the D-backs decide to call him up. But I'd guess that we're going to see Jordan Lawler pretty soon.
Yeah. Now, Blaze Alexander has gotten hot.
Yep.
Say he's blazing even. But he's no Jordan Lawler. Like they've finally created a path for Jordan Lawler. It's what he's been missing in the 3 years since he was first called up, is an actual job to call his own. And so I think once he gets rolling at AAA, they'll be content to slide Blaze Alexander back into a utility role, because I doubt they see him as a full-timer long-term.
They can shuffle things around here a little bit. Adrian Del Castillo is their DH right now. He's a young player. I'm sure they want to see, what he can do for the future, but he's performing pretty poorly. So there are ways for them to fit both guys in the lineup if they want to, with Jordan Lawler and Blaze Alexander. Jacob Wilson will begin a rehab assignment at AAA on Saturday. The Nationals designated Nathaniel Lowe for assignment when they activated Dylan Cruz from the IL. Lowe was hitting just Nathaniel Lowe. I'm saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That always confuses me. The lows, the lows. He was hitting just 216, but did have 16 home runs this season. My guess is that he'll latch on somewhere, just not sure where.
But Brandon Lau is the only one I've ever known who was a Lau.
Right. Yeah. There.
Yeah.
Most of the
There's
time.
Lowndes County in Georgia, which looks like it should be Loans or Lowndes, but it's Lowndes. So that's
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Weird spelling there. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, every LOWE I've known other than Brandon Lau is Low.
And the last news item here, Miguel Amaya was placed back on the IL with a sprained left ankle, which is, good news for Carson Kelly, who should continue to get most of the playing time there with the Cubs. Let's get into the Dog of the Week. Now it's time for the Dog of the Week segment, brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim, the maker of NexGard Plus, afoxolaner, moxidectin, and parental chewable tablets used with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Ask your vet if NexGard Plus is right for your dog. And want to focus on a hitter here. Giants outfielder Elliot Ramos. So far this week, he's gone 0 for 13 with 4 strikeouts. But Scott, did you realize He has not homered since July 5th. That was a long time ago. He actually is hitting a little bit better here in the second half. Struggled mightily in July, but in the second half, he's hitting 289, just no slug. There's only 3 extra base hits, all doubles, still hitting the ball hard during that stretch. But right now the swing is just not optimized for power, which is why he hasn't hit home runs since July 5th, but still 89% rostered. I think he's a solid player. Is he still a must roster player? What do you think about Elliot Ramos of the Giants?
I'm not sure I ever would have called him a must roster player in points leagues. I realized at one point in the season he was so hot that he probably was rostered in every league, but he just doesn't have the sort of skill set that I think lends itself to a top 36 finish in that format. And I'm not sure every top 36 outfielder is must roster in a 3 outfielder league anyway, because there are going to be, like the 42nd probably isn't that much worse than the 34th. So there's going to be some interchangeability there. Elliot Ramos fits this description that I was talking about. I think it was just yesterday, of the poor plate discipline hitter who, when things go wrong for him, he's just a goose egg for you, basically, because he's not getting on base at all. And it's really hard to stick with them during these slumps. It is the other side of the coin when they're very hot and hitting home runs, and like everybody's like, this is the greatest guy ever, which I know there was a period like that for Ramos this year. But we're seeing the other side of the coin now, and it's painful. I agree. He's a starting caliber outfielder in the majors. He has better power than the average hitter, but how functional is he in fantasy? I think he's like a number 4 outfielder in fantasy, and there will be times when he looks more like a number 2, but there are times when he looks unusable. And so the mean is a number 4 outfielder. And, if you can find somebody hotter in the meantime, I think that's totally fine.
And I feel like this happened last year too. He got off to a great start and then kind of faded in the second half of the season. So kind of becoming a consistent thing here for Elliot Ramos. Looking at his StatCast page, he's also a terrible defender, man. He is in the first percentile in outs above average this season, -9 there in terms of the range. So they can't throw him at DH to have Rafael Devers at DH. So
they play Devers at first base. They haven't called up Bryce Eldridge yet.
That's fair. I would say hold Elliot Ramos in 5 outfielder leagues, but probably not in 3 outfielder leagues.
Yes.
That was the Dog of the Week segment, brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim, the maker of NexGuard Plus, Afoxolaner, Moxidectin, and Parental chewable tablets. They provide next-level parasite protection against fleas, ticks, heartworm disease, roundworms, and hookworms, all in a tasty beef-flavored soft chew. Used with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Dogs should be tested for existing heartworm infection prior to starting a preventive. Ask your vet about NexGuard Plus chews. Couple other waiver wire hitters here, Scott. 2 in shallower leagues. Big game for Lourdes Gurriel in Coors Field. 1 for 4 with a sock and a shoe. His 15th home run, 10th steal. He's just kind of been even more mid than usual. I mean, the OPS is right at 700. He's 73% rostered. Solid in a points league, like 2.6 fantasy points per game, but not really a difference maker,
I mean, you might remember the Diamondbacks had the second best hitter matchups coming into this week. And so Gurriel was the sleeper hitter. And I think that's his role. Like, he's been among those 10 sleeper hitters probably more than any other hitter this year, because he's not good enough to graduate from the list, but he is good enough that if the matchups are right, I'm probably going to recommend him. So he's kind of stuck in that purgatory, and shows no signs of breaking free of it.
Welcome back to Dylan Cruz, who went 1 for 3 with a walk and his 12th stolen base. He was batting second in this game for the Nationals, 68% rostered. We spoke about him yesterday. Don't need to add him in 3 outfielder leagues yet, but he has the upside to kind of work his way into that conversation. So we'll see what happens the next couple of weeks for Dylan Cruz. And one deeper league name, someone we've brought up a bunch recently, Ryan Mountcastle, stealing bases all of a sudden. What's going on? 1 for 3 with 2 steals here. He also has hit 2 home runs since coming back. That's more of what we're expecting from Ryan Mountcastle. But it wouldn't surprise me one bit if he has a solid end to the season. He was still hitting the ball hard this year, had some really bad luck, 19% rostered. Yeah, corner infielder somewhere. I think that could work.
Yeah, I've held steady in my views on Mountcastle. When we did a second half sleepers breakouts bust segment, I had him as one of my second half sleepers. The complication is going to be when Samuel Basallo comes up, which could happen as soon as this weekend, once we're inside of 45 days left in the season. And the only positions Basallo can play, first base, DH, catcher. Well, those are occupied by Adley Rutschman, Ryan Mountcastle, and Kobe Mayo. So I imagine Basallo would fill in some for all three. But, if Mountcastle doesn't take off, he could find himself at the bottom of that pecking order. Right now, I would assume Mayo's at the bottom of it because he's homered. I know he homered earlier. I guess it was last week at this point. It hasn't been that recent. But a lot of offers in the game log there for Kobe Mayo. And while I'm sure they want to evaluate his long-term outlook, given that it's the last year for the Orioles anyway, if Mountcastle is outperforming him, I imagine he'll keep playing.
How are we feeling about Bailey Ober? He has made 3 starts since returning, and he was just okay against the Tigers here. 5 1/3 innings, 3 runs allowed, 4 strikeouts, 0 walks, but had 14 whiffs on 89 pitches. So that seems really encouraging. 3 starts since returning, a 4.41 ERA, but a 0.98 whip, 67% rostered, and he gets the Athletics next week. Where are we at on Bailey Ober?
In a weird place, I would say. This start itself, it was hard to know what to make of it because it was a high ERA, 3 earned runs in 5 1/3. It was a low whip, 4 base runners in 5 1/3. It was a low strikeout rate, 4 strikeouts in 5 1/3. It was a great swinging strike rate, 14 on 89 pitches. I think probably of all the data points for Bailey Ober start against the Tigers, the most revealing one was that he averaged on his fastball just 90.3 miles per hour. So the gains from his first 2 starts off the IL, I kept pointing out, hey, looks like the fastball, it's back to where it was previous years, not dealing with the loss that we'd seen for Bailey Ober early this year. Well, that wasn't true for this third start. And it's not what you want to see. So I think he deserves to be rostered. I think there have been enough positive signs since returning from the IL that I want Bailey Ober on my roster, but I'd be very reluctant to use them still because there are a lot of conflicting data points.
Would you rather roster Bailey Ober over like the Jacob Lopez's and Zebby Matthews, kind of the names we've been talking about a lot lately? Christian Javier?
I would rather roster him over Javier. Jacob Lopez and who was the other one? Zebby Matthews. Jacob Lopez and Zebby Matthews. I mean, they've shown big strikeout potential. So like the upside is there for them. And at this point, you gotta think Bailey Ober has just as much downside risk. So yeah, I'd say so. Lopez, and especially since Lopez and Zebby Matthews are among my sleeper pitchers for this upcoming week.
Yeah, I agree totally. I would put Lopez and Zebby at the top of that list, then Ober, and then Christian Javier. Don't think we have any interest in these waiver wire pitchers, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you feel differently, Scott. Maybe you love Tomoyuki Sugano. Do you? I don't know. Solid outing here against the Mariners, 5 1/3 with 1 run, only 2 strikeouts here, but last 4 starts, he's been pitching better. 2.31 ERA, 0.99 whip during that stretch. Eduardo Rodriguez, I mean, if you can figure out an E-Rod, just let me know where the crystal ball is, because last time out, he gets the Rockies in Arizona, gets bombed. This time he gets the Rockies in Coors Field, and he has maybe his best start of the season. 7 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts here, 10 whiffs on 93 pitches. Gets the Guardians next week. Brad Lord continues to pitch well, this time against the Phillies. 6 innings, 2 runs, 3 strikeouts. 5 starts since rejoining the rotation, 2.77 ERA and a 1.15 whip. And Bryce Elder from your Atlanta Braves, Scott. Great start out of nowhere at the New York Mets. 7 innings, 3 runs, 2 of those earned with 6 strikeouts. Had 12 whiffs on 87 pitches. Threw his four-seam fastball a bunch more. Like, I don't know, what's that about? Do any of these names matter? Elder, Lord, Erod, and Sugano?
Probably not, but there are a few things I want to point out with each. So Bryce Elder, he has good starts out of nowhere on occasion. And because that's true, because it's happened on occasion over the years, I think we know to ignore it, regardless of whatever pitch changes Bryce Elder's made. Brad Lord got a really good ground ball rate, 50%. So he could be useful in like a Michael McGreevy sort of way, which I think for most leagues means not that useful, but he'll show up on the streamer pitcher segment sometimes. Brad Lord. Tomoyuki Sugano, you say it's a 4-start stretch. Well, we've seen a jump in velocity for Sugano over those 4 starts. Most of his pitches up 1.5 miles per hour in this start. It's been about that for this 4-start stretch. So I guess from that perspective, it's not surprising he's found more success. It's still not a great strikeout rate. It's a better strikeout rate because the strikeout rate was so awful before. It's still not a very good strikeout rate. And I still think Sugano is pretty fringy because of that. But, he's beginning to verge on interesting again. Not quite there, but he's verging on it. And then Eduardo Rodriguez. So great start in Colorado. So bad lineup, but a venue that's been playing very hitter-friendly of late, especially. Previous 6 starts for Eduardo Rodriguez, a 6.97 ERA, a 1.97 whip. So nothing I say right now is meant to suggest you should use Eduardo Rodriguez. Way too risky. But he did something kind of interesting here. So he threw 61% fastballs, 4-seamer, 61% of the time. Normally that's 44% of the time. But more than that, I think the reason he was leaning on that 4-seamer so much is because it was a very different 4-seamer. It had 4 less inches of vertical break. 4. I mean, 2's a lot. This had 4 less. And that put it really on the bottom of the scales as far as 4-seam fastballs go, their induced vertical break. Normally, a good fastball has a high induced vertical break. Those are the fastballs that are touted the most. But the opposite end of the spectrum can work too, as we've talked about with Jacob Lopez. Really, it's just a fastball that moves in a way hitters aren't accustomed to, that has a shape hitters aren't familiar with. Because obviously it's a fastball. They have so little reaction time. So if it's dropping quicker or dropping slower than they're used to seeing, they're very likely to miss it. In this case, dropping quicker, lower induced vertical break for Eduardo Rodriguez. It might work if it's something he can stick with. Big if, because like I said, a 7 ERA in his last 6 starts, but something to keep an eye on for Eduardo Rodriguez, who of course has had success in the past.
I wonder how much of that, because the same thing happened with his cutter here at 4 less inches of IVB. How much of that is just Coors Field, right? I don't know.
That's a good point. Good point. Yeah, it's a good point. I think the data from the next start will have a lot to say about that too. I honestly don't know. It makes sense to me logically that thinner air would cause the ball to lose carry faster, but I don't know for sure if that's the case.
All right, let's take our final break. When we return, a couple hitters here, strong runs just continuing. These guys are just all on a tear. We'll talk about those. Maybe get to Scotty doesn't know. I don't know. We're making pretty good time. We'll probably get to it. We'll do all that. I feel
like I've been blabbing a lot.
We'll do all that right after this.
They want to take this place from us. My family is in danger.
My wife is lost to me, and I don't have time.
1923, new season now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Strong runs continuing for these four hitters. Julio Rodriguez hit another home run over his last 29 games, hitting .305 with 13 homers, 8 steals, and an OPS over 1,000. Vlad Jr., another home run. Big second half, .375, 8 home runs, 22 runs, 21 RBI, 1146 OPS. Michael Harris, 3 more hits, another steal. And after the break, hitting .381, 7 homers, 2 steals, 1103 OPS. And Xavier Edwards, I mean, the batting average has been going on for a while, but now he's actually starting to run a lot more, which is great. 2 for 4 with his 23rd steal since June 1st, batting .337 with 2 homers. All right, whatever. But, I mean, it's still more than you would expect, probably. 41 runs scored and 12 steals. So anything to add on these four, man? They are alive.
No, I mean, it's validating. I feel validated here. I think we all feel validated about Julio Rodriguez because at the All-Star break, we did a first 2-round redraft for the second half. We said, yes, Julio Rodriguez belongs there. We were called madmen. We haven't been keeping up with the times. But sure enough, Julio Rodriguez looking like Julio Rodriguez again. Of course, I think all of our faith was shaken on Michael Harris, but I think the consistent message was he's better than this. Like, obviously he's unusable right now, but he didn't fake what he did for his first 3 years. And so it's encouraging to see. I don't think any of us really knew changing the position of his hands was the fix, but there was some fix in there, and Michael Harris seems to have found it. And yeah, Xavier Edwards, I was hopeful that with the increase in batting average, eventually he'd start running more, and that seems to be happening. So it's all looking good.
6 steals in the past 8 games, by the way, for Xavier Edwards. What about Ozzy Albies? He has looked better. He's still not amazing in the second half, but he hit a home run here, and second half numbers, .253, 3 homers, 18 RBI, 4 steals, 728 OPS. It's better. It's still not the Ozzy Albies we know and love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a tough one because part of it might be environment related. The fact the ball's not carrying as well this year. And we knew from past years like that it could greatly impact Albies. So maybe it's as simple as that. But you would think it would also have a similar impact on Jose Altuve and Marcus Semien, who also produce power despite pretty weak exit velocities. And they have both bounced back to some degree. I know Semien's cooled off again, but he had a stretch there where he was looking like normal Marcus Semien. I was kind of expecting a stretch like that for Albies at some point. The home run he hit was a wall scraper, 99.2 miles per hour. It only would have gone out in 8 of the 30 ballparks, so it wasn't that impressive of a shot. And he's so young that, like, he's so much younger than Altuve and Marcus Semien that he's kind of the one you want to bet on the most of that group. But I don't know. I don't know what the future is for him. Just even outside of fantasy, I know there have been a lot of discussions within like Braves media of, do the Braves non-tender him? Remember,
Non-tender, wow.
He signed like this crazy team-friendly deal where he's only going to make like $7 million next year. Now I think that's crazy. I think he's going to be back because it's only $7 million, and even if he ends up on your bench for $7 million, that's something you could live with. You got to take the shot on him bouncing back. But the fact that it's even in the conversation, people really don't know what to make of Ozzy Albies, myself included. It's not as clear cut of a situation as Michael Harris, even, who, again, I think we all felt confident would bounce back eventually.
Yeah, I think what you and Chris have brought up a lot about in the years where the ball isn't traveling as well, those have been the down years for Ozzy. I think he also kind of fits the mold of, these plate discipline hitters that we've talked about too. He's a very aggressive hitter. He chases a lot of the strike zone. Like, he has been streaky in the past too. It's just, man, the streak has this bad streak has been going on for a while now. Like last year, he was pretty bad as well. He also just isn't playing well this season. I mean, you look at his quality of contact is down. His barrel rate is terrible. Bunch of pop the last 2 years. He just seems off, man. I don't know.
Yeah, you make a good point about the barrel rate because that is a combination of both exit velocity and launch angle, right?
Yeah.
And
it's
so
like optimal for power, basically optimal contact for power.
Right. So the way the ball is carrying would not change barrel rate. So it isn't just that. He's not squaring up the ball as much as he usually does. And so in a way that's encouraging. He has some control over how the rest of this season, next season turns out. So that's a good point to bring up. Just to use the correct terminology, I don't think it would be non-tendering. It would be not picking up the team option, the $7 million team option, and instead doing, looks to me like a $4 million buyout. So it wouldn't even be $7 million they're saving. It would be $3 million they're saving. I'm pretty sure, unless they trade him, I'm pretty sure Ozzie Albies is going to be the Braves starting second baseman again next year.
Some leftovers here from Thursday's action. Lindor had a huge game, 3 for 4 with the sock and a shoe. His 22nd home run, his 19th steal. He is getting back on track here in August. Brutal June and July, likely because he suffered that fractured toe that he's been playing with. So looks like he might be getting back on track. Riley Green hit his 28th home run, and the strikeout rate has improved over his last 14 games. He's down to 26%. So I think it was around 40% for a lot of July. So that's turned around for Riley Green. That's good news for him. And Jose Ramirez, excuse me, just will not stop running. 3 for 4 with 2 more steals. He is up to 35. His career high was last year, 41. I feel pretty good. He's going to beat that. We're going to get a new career high here for J-Ram.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Wasn't last year itself a career high, 41? Yeah. Now, we know the stolen base environment has changed a lot in the last 3 years, so maybe in that respect it's not so surprising. But, you got a hitter who's been around forever in his 30s. He keeps setting new highs in stolen bases. It's noteworthy.
Yeah, it's unprecedented. We don't really see guys start to run more once they get into their 30s. Some pitching leftovers here. Jesus Luzardo was cruising and then came out for the 7th. He loaded the bases with no outs, and that pretty much ruined his line. It could have been much better, but 6+ innings here, 3 runs, 7 strikeouts, had 17 whiffs on 97 pitches, had everything working here. Kodai Senga much better in this one against the Braves. 5 2/3, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts, 15 whiffs on 93 pitches through 66% of his pitches for strikes. That is the key for Kodai Senga. Tarek Skubal turned in a quality start at the Twins, 7 innings, 3 runs with only 3 strikeouts. So we'll pay attention there. And one bad one. Edward Cabrera, it turns out he is human after all. Roughed up by the Guardians, gave up 5 runs over 5 1/3, but still had 17 whiffs on 95 pitches. Anything to add on this group?
So that 4-start stretch for Luzardo, 2.52 ERA, 0.92 WHIP. I think he's fine. I think you can use him regardless of matchups. Wouldn't go as far to call him must start, but he's pretty close. Senga had been so bad since returning from the IL. In his 5 starts prior to this one, it was 7.1 walks per 9. Only once did he even go 5 innings in those 5 starts. He was looking unusable. And it was good this time. Not quite a quality start because he only went 5 2/3, but the control was much better, 66% strikes. But he was so bad in the previous 5. I'm not sure it's enough to convince me to use him again. I don't know that he's must roster even, frankly, for the shallower leagues I'm talking about. But does still have low ERA on the year, so that'll probably lead people to hold on to him. And did you mention Edward Cabrera yet?
Yes.
Yeah. This was his third bad start, I would say, in that dominant 14 start stretch. So I think we can give him a pass for this one.
All right. Do we have time? What do you think, Scott? Do we have time for little Scotty doesn't know? 15 minutes left. We got to do the
Let's
preview
do it.
still. All right.
What are we going to do? Sleep?
All right. Let's do it.
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
Let's do an abbreviated version. I have 5 players here. What we'll do instead, we'll do 3. We'll do 3 players here for Scotty doesn't know. And now I'm scrolling through to figure out which 3 I want to do.
Sometimes the editing process can take longer than just doing it all.
Yeah. All right. I am the 4th best outfielder in CBS head-to-head points leagues over the last 28 days.
Okay, so this can only be one guy.
Yes.
Some of your clues can be a bunch of different guys. This can only be one guy.
I'm getting better.
4th best in points leagues, 28 days, outfielder. Okay. Is it Isaac Collins?
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
The answer you were looking for is Taylor Ward. During that stretch, 281 batting average, 8 home runs, 25 RBI, and an OPS just over 1,000 on the season. He is up to 29 homers with 90 RBI. And I don't know that it's a complete fluke because he's hitting more fly balls this year, and he has a 15% barrel rate. So, I mean, that's an elite mark.
But you know how I feel about barrel rate. Like, it is more of a symptom than a cause.
But if you maintain it for the entire season up to this point, that should count for something.
Except when it's that extreme. No, so my take on Taylor Ward, and I laughed when you brought him up because I was just arguing with somebody about this on Twitter. The age-old argument of what our rankings supposed to represent came up again. It's not an age-old argument. For some reason, it's just become an argument in recent years. People understood what rest of season rankings meant, but now a certain contingent of people wants them just to reflect what's been going on recently. When I look at Ward's profile, everything looks the same as always, except for the number of home runs he has. And I guess barrel rate. But again, I consider that more of a symptom than a cause. Like the expected stats, pretty much where they always are. Exit velocities, where they always are. Plate discipline, if anything, it's a little worse. And so I think he's the same guy. I think he's just had a home run windfall, which happens sometimes. And it can end at any time. Like, just because it's happened for 4 months doesn't mean the final 2 months, less than 2 months at this point. Like, home runs aren't an even distribution over the course of the season. So I have him 33rd among outfielders rest of season. He's, obviously must roster. Probably should be starting everywhere, even the shallower leagues. But 33rd isn't that far ahead of 45 in my mind. And so I think it's very likely he doesn't get to 35 home runs, even though it seems like a slam dunk to people right now.
All right.
In fact, I'll take the under. 34.5 over under. I'll take the under for Taylor Ward. How's that? How's that for some decisiveness?
I'm taking the over. So what are we betting on, Scott? What does the winner get?
You put stakes on it. I never want to do it.
All right. I sent you Peeps cereal for your birthday this year. So the winner gets a cereal box of their choosing.
Okay.
All right. Fair enough.
I can live with those terms.
Let's go.
Unless you're gonna have me import some $30 cereal or something.
No, make it 50. We're gonna find the best cereal ever. All right, next up. In 40 games leading up to the All-Star break, I hit 331 with 12 homers, 6 steals, and a 1024 OPS. In 24 games after the break, I'm hitting 213 with 0 homers, 5 steals, and a 522 OPS. Who am I?
I'm sorry, you're going to have to repeat those numbers. I was worried that I sounded cheap by balking at a $30 box of cereal.
Yeah, how could you not buy me $30 cereal?
I mean, I am,
All right, here are the numbers. 40
Okay.
games leading up to the All-Star break. I hit 331, 12 homers, 6 steals, 1024 OPS. 24 games after the break, I'm hitting 213, 0 homers, 5 steals, 522 OPS. So his OPS has nearly been cut in half, basically.
So it's been great. It was great before the break. He was bad after the break. Is he a base stealer? Did you mention steals in there?
Yeah,
no?
6 steals in 40 games before, 5 steals since. So
Okay.
he's still
a base stealer. Don't know the position. It's been bad news. Bad news, base stealer. I'm going to say... Is it Fernando Tatis?
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
The answer here is Ceddanne Rafaela, who, remember, he was blazing hot going into the break. But this just kind of feeds into a lot of what we've been talking about again is plate discipline. I mean, he chases more than almost anybody in baseball. Now, he has made strides this year. I want to give him credit. He's lowered the strikeout rate. The zone contact has improved. The swinging strike rate has improved as well. But he is still amongst the most aggressive hitters in the game. So he's going to be prone to being a very streaky player.
Yep.
I say all this to remind you that he's still 89% rostered, and I think that should be the case because I think we could see another stretch where Rafaela really heats up once again.
Yeah, he's part of that contingent, not to harp on it, but bad plate discipline, guys, it really hurts when they're not going well, and it's really hurting with him right now. I don't know that he needs to be quite 89%. I mean, is he that much better than Elliot Ramos in theory? I don't know.
In Roto, for sure. I guess they're both kind of Roto players, but yeah, Rafaela just
he has the speed. He brings the speed. But I think in points league specifically, if you want to start, if you don't want to have just bench Rafaela, if you want to drop him for a more startable player, I think that's okay. I don't think the ceiling is so high that you have to devote a roster spot to him in those shallower leagues.
Yeah, in head-to-head categories or any 3 outfielder category leagues, I would definitely hold on to Rafaela because again, he can heat up, and we saw him go on a crazy binge right before the break, and it wouldn't surprise me if we get like an awesome final month here from Ceddanne Rafaela. All right, last one. Sure. Over my last 30 games, I am hitting 204 with 1 homer, 3 steals, and a 608 OPS. And you know what, Scott? I'm feeling nice. I'll give you a bonus clue.
Oh.
I was drafted in the first 2 rounds this year. Drafted in the first 2 rounds.
Oh.
Last 30 games, 204, 1 homer, 3 steals, 608 OPS.
In a 12-team league, he was drafted in the first 2 rounds.
Yes. Now, was he drafted in the first round or the second round? That I don't know. Could just be a first-round hitter.
Yeah, because there's one name who comes to mind, but I think he was drafted in the 3rd round, not the 2nd. First rounder, could it be? This is a non-base stealer, right? Is it Bryce Harper?
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
I'm actually not sure if he's been cold or not.
So all you had to do, Scott, was think back to earlier tonight when you were arguing with people on Twitter because the answer is Kyle Tucker, who during that stretch, last 30 games, mentioned the numbers.
I was arguing with people about Tucker. I was arguing with people about Ward.
His average exit velocity during this stretch, Kyle Tucker, 88.3, just 2 barrels. So obviously it's not going well. Still more walks than strikeouts. So the plate discipline, there's not a problem there. He had a finger injury back in early June, but it clearly didn't affect his June. He still had a fantastic June, but he had a really bad July that's carried over here into August. I do just want to point out the Cubs as a team are struggling. And sometimes this happens within a baseball season, man. It can almost be contagious. Again, that's like not quantifiable. I know we always bring up stats to back up our takes, but sometimes a whole team just goes cold at once. Like we just spoke about PCA. Seiya Suzuki's been cold. Dansby Swanson has mostly been cold. Like, yeah, Kyle Tucker is cold right now. But, I mean, for the people that are giving you grief, like ranking him as a top 5 outfielder, what are you going to do? Are you going to bench Kyle Tucker and miss out on the week that he goes out and hits 3 homers with 3 steals? Like, come on, man. Sorry, I had to get that off my chest.
Yeah, and I don't. Sometimes I feel like we get a little too. This guy was giving me a hard time on Twitter about this, and most people listening don't care what's happening on Twitter. I mean, people who invest a lot of their time in Twitter like to argue about stupid stuff. So of course you're going to get in stupid arguments on Twitter, and maybe we don't need to pay that much of attention to it. Maybe we don't need to make the show start later because we're busy arguing with people on Twitter, which is kind of what happened tonight. So sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, Kyle Tucker is a stud, obviously. And this is why, to harp on this point, 30,000 foot view is what you should be taking when you're analyzing baseball, because Kyle Tucker looks a lot better there from 30,000 feet up than if you're, on ground level with him right now. And he's had a miserable 6-week stretch. Anybody can have a miserable 6-week stretch. It's kind of normal. It's kind of normal. It's not like everybody will have a 6-week stretch this bad, but it shouldn't really raise that much alarm when it happens. So I don't know, just ignore it. Like, honestly, like I can't tell you exactly what's wrong and exactly what's going to make it go right, but I know it's not so abnormal that we should be losing faith in Kyle Tucker of all players. It's really as simple as that.
Hey, man, if there are people out there that know exactly when to time up benching their first round pick for whoever the hot Jacob Marcy doing something like that, all the power to you. But I will tell you that over a long period of time, that is going to burn you more than it's going to work for you. So if, again, like, I have Kyle Tucker in multiple leagues, I'm not benching him. I thought it was worth bringing up because obviously he's a first round pick and he's been struggling for a while. Like, there's no doubt about that. So, we still have a bunch of faith, obviously, in Kyle Tucker and the Cubs. Like, they're too talented to be this bad for this long. So I would bet on the Cubs getting things back on track here. Let's wrap up, Scott, with our Week 22 preview, and we will begin with the schedule, which is a little bit all over the place. We have a team with 5 games, 2 teams with 8 games, so it's a little wonky for next week. But that one team with 5 games is the Rays. We have 20 teams with 6 games. 7 teams with 7 games, the Rockies, Astros, Royals, Dodgers, Padres, Giants, and Rangers, and 2 teams with 8 games, the Cubs and the Brewers. As I mentioned earlier with the Rockies, they have 7 games next week, 4 at home against the Dodgers, and 3 on the road against the Pirates. Starters sit these 2 start pitchers for next week. Good old Jackie boy, Jack Flaherty, against the Astros and the Royals.
We do this every week with a couple pitchers, and there are a couple pitchers this week too. But they frustrated us for some length of time. And so we want to be able to say, well, you got to bench them. You got to bench them. It's been too frustrating. They're doing too much damage. And then we look at the other 2 start options, and I kind of just want to start Jack Flaherty. Like, obviously the strikeouts have remained high. He's had a number of good starts in recent turns too. And so if you're going to play the volume game, getting 2 starts instead of 1, you're taking on a little risk, a little extra risk just by nature of that process. And I think the upside in Flaherty's case is worth it. Not saying he's must start, but he's probably should be started in most leagues.
Probably using him in a points league. I think you have to be a little bit pick and choosy at this time of year in Roto. If you have close categories in terms of ratios, maybe you sit a Jack Flaherty because he has that blow up potential. If you need strikeouts, then yeah, throw him out there. I also think it's worth mentioning his home road splits at home this year, 3.79 ERA on the road. He's up over 6, and both of those starts are at home next week for Jack Flaherty.
And I'll mention too, this happens to be a week where there are a lot of must-start 2-start pitchers, probably none of whom we're going to mention in this segment. But if you look at my 2-start pitcher rankings, they're 15 as of right now. Could change over the weekend, but 15. That's a lot. That's like twice as many as usual. So if you happen to have 2 or 3 of those guys, that makes it less likely that you're going to use Flaherty, even though Flaherty is still tiered pretty high among the 2-star pitchers.
Somebody who is not must start anymore is Spencer Strider, and he gets the White Sox and the Mets, the team that just lit him up for 8 runs.
Yeah, but he's right behind Flaherty in my 2-star pitcher rankings for basically all the same reasons.
Yeah, they are pretty similar pitchers at this point. Scott, are they Charizards? Are Jack Flaherty and Spencer Strider Charizards at this point?
They are.
It kind of feels that way.
They are certainly looking like Charizards. I don't know what the Pokemon analogy would be for a Charizard adjacent pitcher who's kind of better than Charizard, but I don't know. There's probably some kind of Pokemon that mimics other Pokemons.
Well,
I don't think you put an S at the end of Pokemon.
Yeah,
to
I was
make
going to
it
say
plural,
the plural of Pokemon is Pokemon. But see, these are the things that I know.
I'm a Pokemon poser.
I've never watched movies in my life, but obviously I've played every Pokemon game.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a Pokemon called Ditto where he can just transform into any other Pokemon. So yeah.
So I don't know the whole lore of Ditto to know if that's a great analogy, but it's kind of what I'm thinking.
All right, well, let's continue on. Gavin Williams is at the D-backs and at the Rangers.
That is lower than Flaherty and Strider in my rankings, but still in that tier where most people are going to do it.
Zach Gallen gets the Guardians and the Reds both at home.
He is in a lower tier. He's in the points league only tier, but that means I'd consider doing it in a points league.
All right, and Seth Lugo gets the Rangers and at the Tigers. He has been struggling.
Yeah, he has. One of those matchups is good at least, and the Tigers haven't been quite their usual selves offensively. So I think in points leagues for the added volume, I'd still start Lugo.
Which 2-star pitchers are you looking to add and stream for next week?
So it's not a great selection, in part because so much of the 2-star options are so high end. They obviously don't qualify for this list. But at the top of the list is Jacob Lopez, coming off 2 awesome starts with a ton of strikeouts. Still pretty risky, I think, overall. Could still be a gimmick, but with each good start, he raises my confidence, and he gets the Twins, who are pretty terrible at this point, especially against left-handers. I think that's right. I'm forgetting now exactly, but I think that's right. And then the Mariners is his other matchup, which isn't so bad either. Then Michael Wacha gets the Rangers and the Tigers, and he's been pretty reliable of late. Jack Leiter has been not so bad either, and he's got 2 great matchups, Royals and Guardians. Brady Singer, he's a kind of a Charizard, but without the high-end outcomes. He just he'll give you a strong 7-inning start, or he'll get throttled, but matchups aren't so bad this week. Angels and Diamondbacks. I do also much lower on the sleeper pitcher list behind all the 1-start options. Spencer Arrietty's here. He gets the Tigers and the Orioles, but it feels very risky. And I also had Dustin May against the Orioles and Yankees, though I think I'm going to bump him from the list for a 1-start Max Scherzer against the Pirates.
All right, who are the other 1-star streamers for next week?
Zebby Matthews gets the White Sox. So that feels like a pretty easy call. Jose Quintana gets the Giants. That's the team that I was thinking of against lefties. They are dead last in OPS. So I think it's a fine time to use Quintana. Christian Javier at Baltimore. Don't feel great about this, considering we've just seen the 1 start from him. He'll make another one this weekend, and it may change my mind, but or it may fortify this decision to stream Javier against the Orioles. We'll just have to wait and see. But there were some good signs in that first start back from the IL. And finally, Hurston Waldrop coming off back-to-back good starts for the Braves. He gets the White Sox, so a favorable matchup there. And hopefully that splitter and sinker, I think it's a sinker he's been using more than a 4-seamer. It's kind of helped him take a step forward this year.
Let's slide over to the hitters. The best matchups, the Dodgers, Rockies, Twins, Reds, and Marlins. The worst hitter matchups, Athletics, Rays, Mariners, Padres, and Giants. Who are your sleeper hitters for week 22?
So I actually like this list more. Most teams' matchups are pretty middling. The good matchups don't stand out as much as they usually do. The bad matchups don't stand out as much as they usually do. So I was looking more at hot hitters who have good splits and are available enough to mention here. And that's mostly what this list features. Jacob Marcy is, of course, at the top, especially since the Marlins have the 5th best hitter matchups. Matt Shaw is on one of the 2 teams playing 8 games this week. So even though, like, it's tough pitchers for both the Cubs and the Brewers, tough opponents, but 8 games, it's hard to know exactly how to balance those two. But Matt Shaw's been so great in the second half, and we talked about all the reasons why yesterday. So I think I like him for this week. Andrew Vaughn, of course, he's been hot for a while now. Sal Frelick has been great. All those guys have 8 games, and I think are worth using. Brenton Doyle, we talked about earlier in the show. The Rockies have the 2nd best hitter matchups with 4 of their games coming at home. I think it's a fine time to use him. Noelvi Marte's been great, and the Reds have the 4th best hitter matchups. Jurickson Profar, it's been great. Only 1 lefty on the schedule for the Braves. His numbers are especially good against righties. He's a switch hitter. And their leadoff hitter right now with Acuna hurt, though Acuna's supposed to come back this weekend. But even when Acuna was last healthy, he was hitting 3rd and Profar 1st. So hopefully Profar will remain the leadoff man for his sake. Jordan Beck also taking advantage of those good matchups for the Rockies. Luke Keeschel with the Twins having the 3rd best matchups. And finally, Colson Montgomery. Let's hope he can keep that power binge going a little longer. I think his chances are improved by all 6 of the pitchers on tap for the White Sox being right-handed throwers. Montgomery, of course, a left-handed hitter, and has done basically nothing against left-handed pitchers.
All right, let's wrap up with some bullpens here for the Orioles. Keegan Aiken got the 7th inning with a 3-run lead, facing 7, 8, and 9 in the Mariners lineup. He allowed 2 base runners, but got out of it. Lefty Dietrich Enns got the 9th with a 3-run lead. He allowed a run, but picked up his first save of the season. Yanier Cano threw 12 pitches on Wednesday, but he wasn't good in that one, so they probably just didn't want to go back to him. Orioles bullpen feels pretty messy. Not great, and obviously a pretty bad team. So kind of feels like a stay away. For the Blue Jays, Jeff Hoffman got the 9th with a 1-run lead. He allowed a hit, but struck out 3 for his 27th save. For the Braves, Raisel Iglesias also got the 9th with a 1-run lead. Struck out 1 for his 17th. And for the Nationals, Jose Ferrer got the 8th with a 1-run lead, facing 3, 4, and 5 in the Phillies lineup. 2 lefties. He picked up the hold. And then Cole Henry got the 9th. He allowed a hit, but picked up the save here. So doesn't look like Ferrer is just the go-to closer, Scott. Clearly, if there's lefties in the 8th, they'll go to him, or not, then he'll get the 9th. So
I wonder how much of it was lefties and how much of it was 3, 4, 5 that he was facing.
Probably a combo of both. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
All right. To stream or not to stream on Friday. And yep, we are back here again to this group. I did add one to the list. Hurston Waldrop is at the Guardians, but all of a sudden,
a pretty good one.
They are raking right now. Colin Ray gets the Pirates. Nick Martinez against the Brewers. Aaron Savali at the Royals. Charlie Morton against the Twins. Jack Perkins against the Angels. And that is it.
The Guardians did score 9 runs on Thursday, but I noticed they had just 1 extra base hit. And I think Jose Ramirez was the only one with multiple hits. I think. Let me double check that. The point is, Austin Hedges actually had 2 hits of all people. He's batting 143. I don't think I'd be scared away from using Hurston Waldrop at the Guardians. I might be scared away from using Hurston Waldrop, period. But I think among this bad list of pitchers that you're showing me, he is my second favorite behind Aaron Savali at the Royals.
And I will go with, I think Waldrop is fine. I also kind of like Jack Perkins against the Angels. On Saturday, there are lots of names here. Are any of them good? I don't know. I'm scrolling up and down. Verlander gets the Rays. Zebby Matthew gets the Tigers, so that could work out. Slade Ciccone against the Braves. Joey Wentz is at the Guardians. Nolan McLean makes his major league debut against the Mariners. Probably don't want to do that. It will be fun to watch, but I don't think you want to use him right away. Yeah, those are the ones that stand out.
Put in such a long list of names here.
I did.
Such trash for me to wade through. Garbage.
Sorry, Scott.
It's like Feel like I'm in the compactor in A New Hope, the first Star Wars.
A movie I've seen.
I'm in that garbage water
I've seen it
right now. Yeah. Hopefully that little like tentacle thing doesn't yank me underneath. I don't like anybody. I'm sorry.
Zebby.
Yeah, I like Zebby. Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You should have just put him on the list, a list of one.
Yeah. I think Ciccone could be fine.
I did initially think so, but man, you want to talk about a lineup that's crushing it right now, and in a way that I think is a little more believable than the Guardians.
He gives up hard contact too, and the Braves hit the ball hard. So
Yeah.
it's a little scary there. Yeah, Verlander against the Rays, 5 innings, 2 runs, something like that, maybe. But the answer is Zebby. And then on Sunday we have Jansen Junk at the Red Sox, Logan Allen gets the Braves, Jose Quintana at the Reds, Dean Kramer at the Astros, Christian Javier is on the other side against the Orioles. Ryan Bergert of the Royals faces the White Sox. Maybe that could work. Chris Paddock at the Twins. Darvish
Revenge
game
game.
Start, but he's at the Dodgers. Although I guess they're not really hitting well, but whatever.
Quintana at the Reds is unlikely to hurt you too badly. Javier versus the Orioles could go okay, but it's a big roll of the dice. I don't want to do it. Dean Kramer's coming off a good start at Houston. That doesn't seem terrible.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of hold your nose this weekend. So, try not to stream. And sometimes you have to, but that should never be the goal. I think especially now.
You're going to say it every podcast until the end of time. You're just going to
listen. I don't want. I want my lack of enthusiasm. It's not just the words you say; it's how you say it.
This is what the people want, Scott.
And I'm giving it to them. But with the right stipulations and provisos. Okay, this is. I'm under duress here, and they need to know that. They need to know these decisions are being made under those conditions.
All right, I'm going to clip that out and just play that every time we do. So then we won't have to say it anymore. It'll kind of just be our new segment sound. So
I mean, it's more information. Yeah, everybody wants more information.
All right,
we're going to assume everybody's listening to every show.
True. All right. We're going to wrap there. For Scott, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning into Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And we will be back again next week. Bye-bye.